Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to this lecture. Today's lecture is on the classification of the organisms in the phylum Annelida. The organisms in the phylum Annelida are animals that are characterized by the possession of metameric segmentation. They are segmented worms, and typical examples of these annelids are the earthworms. This earthworm you're seeing here on the video. Okay, they exhibit metameric segmentation. They have repeated segments in their bodies. They possess repeated segments in their bodies. Now we are going to look at three classes of the phylum Annelida, and we'll look at their distinctive features. Okay, actually the phylum Annelida has four classes. We have the class Oligochaeta, which these earthworms belong to. Then we also have the class Polychaeta that has the polychaetes such as Nereis diversicolor, Capitella capitata, and many others, especially unique species and others. Then we also have the class Herodina that has the leeches. Okay, the class Herodina has the leeches. Then we also have the Arch Annelida. Okay, but we'll compare three of the classes. The oligochaetes, which these earthworms belong to, the class Oligochaeta. Then we have the class Polychaeta and the class Herodina. The class Oligochaeta consists of the earthworms. And one of the very important feature of this class is that they have tapering posterior and anterior ends. Okay. Now the polychaetes, in contrast to those in the class Oligochaeta, they have a tapering posterior end, but the anterior end is not as it is in the earthworms. They have heads, and some of them are of various structures, like the fanworms are quite different from what you know annelids to be. Okay, but they have most of them have well-developed heads that have palps and other head appendages. Even they also have eyes. Okay, that's one distinctive feature. But those in the class Herodina have posterior and anterior sulcus, so their anterior and posterior ends are not tapering but blunt and flat because of the anterior and the posterior sulcus. One other distinctive feature between the various classes of annelids is that the oligochaetes, just as the name implies, they have few chaeta. Oligochaeta means few chaeta. Chaeta are brittle chitinous structures that are found on the ventral side of these organisms. Now the chaeta, the oligochaetes have a pair of chaeta in each of these segments. But the chaeta is not as many as those of the polychaetes, because the polychaetes possess structures that are called parapodia. Okay, the parapodia are appendage-like structures that are found on the lateral side of these polychaetes that are used for locomotion, and each parapodia has several chaeta. That's why they are called polychaeta. Then those of the leeches, the Herodina do not have chaeta for locomotion. Rather, they make use of the posterior and the anterior sulcus for locomotion. Now, the polychaetes are quite distinct from others for the fact that they have parapodia. The oligochaetes do not have parapodia, and those in the class Herodina, the leeches, do not have parapodia too. But the leeches have one unique feature that distinguishes them from the other annelids. They have sulcus, posterior and anterior sulcus. Sulcus at the tip of the tail's end, which is the posterior end, and the head side, which is the anterior end. And they walk with the aid of the anterior sulcus, anterior and the posterior sulcus, while the polychaetes walk with the aid of the parapodia. The annelids, like this earthworm, work with the aid of the chaeta. Now, the The annelids basically respire with the gaseous exchange takes place through their body surface. But one distinctive feature about the polychaetes is that they, in addition to their body surface, the polychaetes make use of their parapodia for respiration. They make use of their parapodia. The surfaces of the parapodia are able to carry out gaseous exchange. So